Trenton Journal is for people who won't take no for an answer. Trenton Journal is for community leaders. Trenton Journal is for people who won't settle. Trenton Journal highlights some of the positive voices in the community and fills in the information gaps through original reporting.
Welcome to Capital Conversations. Thank you for watching. I'm your host, Kenneth Miles, Editor-in-Chief and founder of the Trenton Journal. Each episode, we bring you in-depth discussions with leaders, experts, and change makers who are making their impact in Trenton. Today, we welcome Leon Rainbow to sit down and talk with us. Thank you, Leon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. You've been very supportive of the Trenton Journal for a very long time since we started it. And I thank you for what you're doing in the community. I just want to begin by your origin story in Trenton. How long have you been here? How did you get here?
Yeah, funny story. I've been in Trenton since 1997. I originally came here to get clean and to get into recovery. And then I was in the Salvation Army on Mulberry Street. And then once I graduated from that, I decided to stay here. And I did my first mural projects in 1999 and 2000 here in the city.
Did you have family and friends here, or like?
I never met anybody from here. I never was here before that.
So you think about getting clean. How does Trenton, New Jersey pop up?
It was the only place I could go where you could go that you didn't have to have insurance.
Okay.
So it was one of those things. I was looking for a spot. It was the only bed I could find that you didn't have to have insurance, and it was. I don't know if I would say fate, but it was destiny, you know what I mean, for me to come, I guess, you know. So, once I started, I started going to Mercer County Community College and got my associate's degree and stuff. But I instantly kind of started to do murals and stuff. One of the first murals was the Trent Commons. It was a parking lot then, but it's where the Trent Commons, they created a parking garage there now. So that's the one that's on Front Street. And there's a little piece of the mural left that's in the corner. That's 25 years old.
So do you consider yourself a working artist?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like everything that I do is creative. I do web design also. That would be considered my day job. But, I do a lot of different murals. I've been mainly just focusing on doing the web design somewhat, but then also just really focused on doing murals, some canvas work and different things, but really focused on trying to do murals and kind of push the scale and, just see how far I could go with it.
So how long have you been a muralist?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I feel like those first I've been into graffiti since I was a kid, so say I was 5 or 6. And, but at the same time, I think those were my first, technically my first murals where I then got paid were in 1999 and 2000.
So when you came here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those were my first murals. Yeah.
Who inspired you?
Man, just a lot of different graffiti artists and stuff, I've always been into, like I said, I've been into graffiti since the early, since the 80s, when hip hop came out, it was like, Run DMC, all that kind of, that era. And it was just one of those things that, when I seen the kids painting on the subways and Beat Street and spray can art and subway art, like those are books and stuff, I was like, man, I got to do that. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy, I don't know as a kid how that impacted me, but it definitely did, and it made me want to do that. But I lived in California, we didn't have.
It's different. Yeah, it's different, no, right?
Right? But we did have graffiti. I was mainly when I was young, it was just tagging. What we call bus hopping, which is similar to the insides. Basically you're taking tags inside the bus. In New York, they did similar in the subway system in the 70s and 80s.
How has your life as a muralist changed from the beginning? Like when you first came here?
I've gotten a lot better. That's the you do different projects, you learn different techniques, you practice, since my life has been revolving around creating murals, doing graffiti, and just traveling and painting and doing different things. You pick up a lot of different styles, techniques, and you practice. And I paint every week. So you really, it's like sharpening a sword.
Every week?
I mean? Absolutely. I paint outside every week. You know what I mean? Year round. For years now, 5-10 years, I've painted outside every week. So
what has been your most memorable painting to date, and not necessarily the painting itself, but the process that it took for you to make that mural? Like, did you have to go up on a scaffolding or climb somewhere?
Yeah, a lot of it. We mainly try to use lifts. So we use aerial lifts. I just feel like they're less safer, and I'm especially now at the age that I am. I just don't want to climb up and down scaffolding all day.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get in the lift, you push the button, it goes up and down. That type of thing. But I think the ones that were most involved was definitely the Trenton mural that's on New Jersey State Prison.
Mm-hmm.
That one. It took a lot. I had been trying to get that wall for 10 to 15 years. I had Artworks try to get it for me. I had Jacques Howard try to get it for me. And I never would have figured it out. Because to me, it's a state prison. You would talk to somebody that works in the state. But what happened was it wound up being a county RFQ. So what happened, I seen them starting to do fix the concrete and stuff on the mural, and then I seen them prime it, and I'm like, they were like painting over what was there. There was been a mural there since I think they said around 97, 96. So that mural was there when I came here, but it was, it wasn't that great. I mean, for that era, obviously it was great, but it could have been, nothing was rendered, and it was just flat colors and stuff. And it was like baseball themed. I think they did that when the stadium had opened up to promote the stadium. But it had, after any mural, after 10, 20, 30 years, it was, it was beat up. It had faded, it kind of had some of the concrete work had to be fixed and stuff. So that it had some issues, and I was trying to reach out to somebody to try to be able to paint that mural. And then what happened was when I seen them, I contacted Lank at Artworks, and he was like, yeah, they're going to put it out RFP, or request for proposal. So it was like a national call, like contest almost, you know what I mean? So we and it's crazy because I had the idea, the same concept that's there today the whole time. I had it mocked up and everything. I had to refix the mock-up and change it a little bit, but basically the idea that each artist does a different letter on the inside, and the back is breaking out, like you're breaking down the barriers of the prison. It's called breaking barriers. So that's really the concept, is that you're breaking through art, you're breaking through professionally, and just everything with that. We're really trying to show what could be done, and try to really inspire the next generation with that mural. When people come by, we're really trying to show the excellence that Trenton has. We had a lot of Trenton-based artists, and a lot of artists were from New Jersey. So we really, put our heart and soul into that project. So a lot of back end work, that's one of the things that I've learned is with murals is that, and I guess everything, is business. There's a lot of administrative work. You have to do designs, redesigns, mock-ups, emails back and forth, coordinating. So that part is what is probably 75% of what goes into a mural is administrative, which is frustrating because I really want to focus on the 25% that's creative, but so I'm working my way towards that.
There was a bit of controversy in regards to that mural. Do you want to speak about it?
I could. So basically, L.A. Parker and some other people took into the fact that that it was that we represented Athing Mo, who was a
Olympian,
right?
Trenton, yeah.
So she was an Olympian, and the artist that did it, who was Dean Ross Innocenzi, he's the one that actually painted that letter, which is the R. He had done a mural at Jersey Fresh Jam for Athing Mo when she first won the Olympics. And but it was a temporary mural because, you know, every year at Jersey Fresh we paint over all the walls again. So it lasted for about a year, and then we painted over it. He had tried to get the he had tried to work with Trent High. Isles was trying to help him work with Trent High. He had tried to go to different locations, and they kept falling through. So I'm like, this is the biggest and best location that we're gonna have. It's when you enter the city, you know, that's the landmark. You know what I mean? People see this every day, and you know, from that aspect, I wasn't thinking about, oh, it's a, you know,
It's a prison.
it's a prison, right? I wasn't thinking about that. But at the same time, you know, the whole concept is breaking barriers, you know, and she broke barriers. You know, she was, you know, and everything that they asked in that RF request for proposal was really for us to represent diversity and represent excellence in Trenton. And if that doesn't, I don't know what would. You know what I'm saying? So in reality, it was frustrating to me. You know, certain things happen instantly. You know, things. The unveiling was canceled instantly, and you know, I was a little bit.
Was that because of the article?
Absolutely, and I was a little bit frustrated by it. But at the same time, you know, I'll just put it like this: if she didn't reach out, that mural would not be there right now. She had talked to Dean before, and he had told her that he wanted to do a mural of her. She was okay with it, and she was the only one that could have saved that mural, and she was the only one that did. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, so she was okay.
Yes. Yes, it wasn't her.
Mm-hmm.
So L.A. Parker did that. To me, he just did it to sell newspapers and to get idea, you know, to get that type of cause controversy. You know what I mean? Yes, it's a prison, but the concept is to break the barriers of the prison. You know, you could either be doing positive things on the outside of the prison, or you could do negative things and be on the inside of the prison. And that's the way I look at it. You know what I mean?
Who are some of your influences?
Just my homie Booster. He's my partner. We were the two lead artists on that project. We've been working a lot in the last couple of years. He really inspires me to do different things, try different things, and you know. But also Max Moses posed too. He was one of my mentors. So a lot of just the different people that I paint with, and a lot of people I work with. Obviously, on a global scale, there's thousands of different artists that influence me. But you know, locally, you know, those are the people that have really influenced me as the people that I hang out with and paint with.
Do you feel over the years that there has been more of an appreciation for the work that muralists do?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways, like the Trenton Arts scene that you see now was built on our back. You know what I'm saying? Like and that's why I feel like Trent has a certain appreciation for what we do, because, you know, we came in the early 2000s. We painted a lot of what we call productions, which is basically graffiti letters that has a mural. It has a theme. It has a background. It has characters. It has portraits. Like all those different things that you would have in a mural, it has that. We call them productions, and that just means that they have graffiti lettering in it. But we did tons of those. We were doing those every week. We did all up and down Clinton Avenue, East State, all Wilbur section, all Martin Luther King. We did almost every section of the whole city. You know what I'm saying? And all that came out of our pocket.
I was going to ask you, like,
so like when we were doing those, you know, we were doing it because, you know, that's what we do. We loved it. You know, a lot of different projects came from that. But then, you know, from that we started Jersey Fresh Jam. You know, we started Vicious Styles Crew, which is you know, those were the artists that were doing those murals at that time. Like that was like 2006 to say 2010 or 11. And, Sage Coalition, we did a lot of stuff on Hanover, downtown also. But, you know, with that, we did Jersey Fresh Jam, then they did Art All Night. And, there's a lot of different things, Punk Rock Flea Market, Pork Roll Festival, a lot of these different events kind of, and, artworks and just doing that style of mural. You could tell like a lot of the walls and stuff. I'm sure there's some people that would like to see more of the mural arts style murals, but a lot of them kind of come from a lot of people like myself, a lot of artists that are from this area come from a graffiti or street art background and then come into doing murals from that. So we have like kind of a little bit of an edgier style. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, even though, what I'm doing is very polished now and very professional, it also has a certain street aesthetic to it. You know what I'm saying?
With that being said, how would you describe your style? If someone is driving around,
Right.
they can tell that's a Leon Rainbow piece.
I guess one of the most unique things that I do is a certain style of patterning. A lot of them are like cool patterns, and then I do kind of warm features, characters, and stuff. Everything on the foreground is kind of opposite to really push that foreground, but the patterns that I do, I feel are really unique. I'm able to kind of free flow them. And, it's almost like a thumbprint. If you look around, you'll see a lot of the different murals with those patterns, and you'll know that I did those.
What has been your relationship with the city of Trenton? Because you said that you feel like some of the rise in the city was built on the backs of artists.
Well, not necessarily. That's not what I necessarily meant. I mean, like the arts. What I was saying is that the art community was built off of the graffiti artists. Like
the arts community.
Yeah, like we like graffiti artists like Mel Leipzig and people like that, Lou Draper, those like the 80s kind of. There was an art scene here during that time, but then it kind of had died out. And then when we started doing all these different projects and doing murals, graffiti murals and stuff like that throughout the city, then it kind of restarted, and then artwork started doing things that were kind of interesting and creative, and all these different events started happening.
What time frame is this?
Probably mid 2000s, like 2000. So we started Vicious Styles Crew in 2006, and we did murals or like graffiti style production murals all over the city. And then a lot of them are still around from 2010, 2012, all the way up until now, But yeah, I feel like the city, that's one of the things that I have to say, like the city council, all the mayors, like throughout this time frame, say from when I started in 99 to 2000, like this city has been very supportive of what we do. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that we've done in this city you can't do in other cities. You know what I mean? Just because there's so much bureaucracy. It's just like we really, like a lot of the council people, Marge has had when she was council person, and even the newer ones, Jazzy, and a lot of the different city council people have been behind us, Crystal Feliciano. All those people have really supported us in our different projects and different events and stuff like that. So, I feel like that's one of the things that we've been able to have. The only thing about the city is the city doesn't really, like, not at this time, doesn't really have that much funding, or they're not putting it behind the arts, maybe, or at least the projects that I'm sure they probably support Artworks, Art All Night, Passage Theater, but some of the stuff that I'm doing, like the murals and stuff, we're just starting to see projects come that are city funded.
One of the things that I heard attracts artists to Trenton, you let me know if this is correct or not. What's the cost of living? One. Number
Absolutely.
two, the ability, like some of the vacant homes and buildings, we served as a canvas.
Absolutely. One of the main issues in Trenton is that this is 2025. We still don't have artist housing. Why don't we have artist housing?
who has been at the forefront of.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm sure, if you're trying to attract artists, you need artist housing. You know what I mean? You need a live work type of environment. I feel like, there was a time when, and now housing is going up too. So it's hard like that. That's kind of like maybe 5-10 years ago, that was an attraction. People could buy a house. I bought a house, you know what I mean, here, and you're able to set up a home base. You could buy a building,
even
create
a studio.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like things were affordable, but now like 2025, it seems like, man, I know people that are looking for apartments and 1-bedroom studios is $1,300, $1,400, $1,500. If they could find it.
Have you seen any of your artist friends or people in the arts community being displaced because of the rise in rents in housing in the city?
I feel like a lot of people have came and went, you know what I mean? So I feel like a lot of people, like one of my main partners was Casso. He moved to Vermont, you know what I mean? I'm not sure. Was the cost of things? Yes. But it's also, it's tough for artists to survive here in the city as far as like having enough projects, having enough things to do to where you could, really make a living out of it. You know what I mean? Only like I've been doing this for, like I said, 25, 26 years, and I've only been able to make substantial projects in the last 5 years.
And how do you do it?
Hustling. You know what I mean? A lot of it does help that I've been doing it for so long. So a lot of projects, and I have a lot of different experience, I'm very efficient, and I'm very, lately I've been advertising, I've been doing, a lot of it is business, so that's the thing. As an artist, you also have to be a business person, not all artists are good business people. Not all business owners are good business people, you know what I mean? So that's one of the things that I'm trying to focus on. It's not what I generally like to do, but I'm good at it, you know what I mean? But I feel like it's important for me to do the things that I want to do. I have to really focus on doing business. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, just doing one project, setting it up, doing another project, trying to, really push yourself to move to the next level and just do, the next best project.
How important is social media to your career?
Yeah, right now it's been very important. You know what I mean? I had a reel go viral. I got.
What reel was that, and what do you contribute to that going viral?
It was like me peeling tape off of a freight train, and like it was like a train worker saying not to paint over the numbers, but it got 20 million views.
What?
I don't know. It's goofy. I just did that airball trend, and that one got like maybe, it's starting to go, but it's got like maybe 20,000 views. So. And
do you think about the videos that you do before you produce it, or are they organic?
Somewhat. I'm working with a media team called Exchange Media, and they're helping me start to do more talking videos, ads, stuff like that. So I'm sure you've seen my ads. Though that was working with them and doing that. And then myself, I kind of put together like the little project time-lapse reels and stuff like that. So those are the ones I like to do, But yeah, they've came up with a lot of the concept, and we work together to come up with some of the content.
What's next for you? What projects do you have coming up?
Right now, I'm in talks with the YMCA. That's not definite yet. We just finished, yesterday we finished a dispensary in New Brunswick Somerset called Bridge City Collective. So we did 2 big walls in there for them. And, we have a lot of things on the horizon. Nothing is set in stone. We're doing some stuff with Art All Night. And we're just like, moving forward. There's a couple other large projects that I have in works, but nothing is really set in stone. But yeah, I think everything, it's like that with what I do, because a lot of the different projects take time to develop. You have to, the way that I work, you get the project, you get a deposit, then you do the design. Once the design is approved, then you schedule and paint the project, So it's a certain process, but getting it started sometimes takes a little bit of time.
And what advice would you give to someone who wants to follow in your footsteps?
Man, a lot of what I would say is really like what I'm doing now is like focusing on business, and really learning how business works in general. One of my mentors, Max Moses, he told me like, "Oh, I went to college for business because I was always going to do art, but I need to learn the business part of it to really be successful." So that's what I would say. The other thing is to go bigger, crazier, harder, faster, whatever. Go bigger, because like there's so much stuff that's mediocre now that you really have to do something exorbitant to really set yourself apart. Do something. It's hard. It's one of the hardest things, and what I still struggle with, or not even struggle with, but it's just I've learned, and I feel it's a lifelong process, is really continuing to create your unique style, and just keep growing with it, and kind of learning and going and learning, growing, like all those types of things, and keep progressing throughout your life. You know what I mean?
Leon, thank you for coming through, and thank you for your support over the years.
Definitely.
And thank you for being a part of our first cover. I appreciate you.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you again for listening into Capital Conversations, and thank you, Leon Rainbow, for joining us. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook at Trenton Journal for upcoming content and for any suggestions you may have. Until next time, stay curious.